Well, we've been talking to Rachel, who got into a situation of actually nitrous poisoning. And I want to add to the conversation Jenna, who says she started using nitrous oxide for fun. Now at 25, Jenna has been in rehab 4 times for her addiction to inhaling what many believe is just commonly called laughing gas. You get it at the dentist sometimes as a anesthesia if you're having a procedure done. And Jenna, you've been listening to what we've been talking about so far, right?
Yes.
All right, good. So what was it about nitrous that made it feel harmless to you when you first started using it?
Well, I started using it just with friends for fun. I really didn't think that it was that dangerous, you know. So I didn't really think it was a big deal. I thought it was mostly safe because you could get it like anywhere.
And you could, right? You could get it at a gas station or a smoke shop or really a
Yeah,
lot of places. And, you know, both you and Rachel said, hey, you can buy it anywhere. They wouldn't let that happen if it was that dangerous. Did that go through your head as
right.
well as Rachel's?
Yes, it was like that, you know. I guess because it was so accessible. And I mean, the people that were selling it over the counter, they knew what was happening, you know. So when they were selling it to me, it's not like they were like, "Oh, be careful," you know. It was just like buying a vape.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not a big fan of that either because of what that can create with your lungs. But
Yeah, it
uh,
was like they were excited to see me coming,
yeah, I'll
almost.
bet. I mean, these things are
Mhm.
expensive.
Yeah.
And Jenna, what did you pay for yours? Rachel was saying it was like $40 for the smaller canisters.
Yeah.
What were you paying?
So for those tanks that you showed, they were about $45 here in New Orleans, but I quickly upgraded to the bigger tanks, which ran at about $100. They were maybe twice the size of that one. Um, and so that they had like a strap on it to where it would make it easier to carry because it was so heavy.
Hmm.
So those were more expensive and I was buying them like constantly.
And how much were you doing in a day, Jenna? How many of these larger tanks, like 2,000 gram or whatever, how many of those were you doing in a day?
It started off with maybe like 3 big tanks a day, but at the worst, I was up to like maybe 10 of the bigger tanks a day, all the way up to maybe 16 on a bad day.
Oh, wow. So this took a lot of time, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I I couldn't do anything without it. You know, I felt like I couldn't function without it. And anytime I was sober, the only thing I was thinking about was going to get another tank.
Yeah. And so people have an idea. If you're talking about a whipped cream can, for example, that would do maybe 3 cups of whipped cream, that's got 8 grams in it. And then the
Hmm.
size that I'm showing here is 640 grams. That would make 153 cups. And then the larger tanks that Jen is talking about are 2,000 grams, would make 500 cups of whipped cream. So, look, when they're selling these, they know what they're doing. They don't put a carrying strap on these because they think somebody's putting them on a kitchen counter. They know what you're doing with it. And did anybody ever discuss with either one of y'all, did they ever mention sudden sniffing death syndrome or the likelihood of psychological addiction or that this could cause permanent neurological damage? Were there any warnings posted anywhere you were buying this or on social media? Did anybody ever give you a red flag about this to either one of you?
No, never.
No, the friend that told me had told me to slow down, and the friend that told me was doing some illegal stuff. He had a lot of experience in a lot of different things, and he had seen a lot of stuff. So he was the only person I had ever heard of that mentioned that it could like harm me. Like, honestly, I mean, it was more so that you were just going to be stupid if you did them.
Yeah. And Jenna, you never had an issue with drugs or alcohol before nitrous, just occasional recreational use, right?
Yeah, so I did struggle a little bit with addiction, but I think that it was actually made worse by the nitrous because, um, as an addict, I saw the nitrous as a loophole because it doesn't show up on drug tests. So it allowed me to use it without, like, basically flying under the radar. Nobody would know. And so that was the draw for me. And it got bad really quickly. After I started doing the big tanks, I couldn't be stopped. Like, in order for me to stop doing them, I would have to be, like, physically removed from it. Because that's how powerful it was once I started.
Yeah.
And it got really bad. I was in a really dark place.
And you wound up paralyzed from the waist down. Actually, both of these women ended up in the hospital, and we're going to talk more about that right after the break.
It was really scary. Through it all, I still had the cravings. I still wanted to do it, even though it had damaged me so much. I still couldn't get out of the thought cycle of just wanting it.
And someone even brought you a tank in the hospital. Is that right? $36 trillion. That is the U.S. debt, and it gets deeper and deeper by the day. Our debt has never been higher, nor have the stakes. The government is looking to slash the federal budget by $2 trillion, and no one knows what that will mean for your job, savings, and future. I've seen a lot in my time, and there's one thing I know for sure. You need to prepare before it's too late. I trust Preserve Gold to help protect my wealth, and I strongly urge you to do the same. They are the only precious metals firm I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and audience, and they have a special offer just for you. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue throughout 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today. Well, I'm back talking to Rachel and Jenna, and the first thing you'll notice in talking to these young women is how intelligent they are. We're talking about bright young women here, and they wound up with an addiction to nitrous oxide. Now, when I say addiction, as powerful as it is, it's a psychological addiction. It's not a chemical addiction, it's a psychological addiction, but it is so powerful that it can overtake your life, and did with these two women who both wound up in the hospital, both suffering neurological damage. And there are things that can happen. You can get frostbite from this when you're actually using it, but it can wind up causing neurological damage. And Jenna, you were actually paralyzed from the waist down, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Whenever I was at my lowest point and I was doing the most nitrous, my parents sent like a wellness check, the police, to come and check on me, and basically they determined that I was unwell, and I went to the hospital. And in the hospital, my condition got rapidly worse. I was paralyzed from the waist down for maybe a couple weeks. I was hallucinating while I was coming off of everything, and I couldn't do anything on my own. I couldn't bathe. I couldn't use the bathroom. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything by myself. It was really scary, I'm sure, for my parents and the people who love me. But through it all, I still had the cravings. I still wanted to do it, even though it had damaged me so much. I still couldn't get out of the thought cycle of just wanting it.
And someone even brought you a tank in the hospital, according to your father. Is that right?
Yeah, so it had such a strong grip on me that even, I mean, I was doing anything I could to just to feel that feeling again because of how bad the addiction was and how easily it was to get it.
And Rachel, you were headed the same way. You were saying you couldn't even tell when your sandals fell off your feet. You couldn't go to the bathroom. It was when you
It like
said your
was
hips were
not
really,
funny.
yeah, you said your hips were starting to hurt, and they thought it was muscle spasm, but you were headed in the same. That's her paralysis from the waist down. Your hips starting to hurt was the beginning of exactly that same thing for you, don't you suspect?
Yeah, I was having like, I mean, they looked like seizures. They were muscle spasms from like my nerves just dying that like it was so painful. I would be like yelling out, just like tremoring. I mean, your body is literally dying. All of your nerves are dying. I mean, it's same. I was able to go to the bathroom, and then when I was in the hospital, I lost function of that. I mean, lost function of everything.
Yeah.
Like, and I had already relearned how to walk. I had a whole knee surgery and played college lacrosse. So this was like the second time I had to relearn how to do everything. And to be honest, I was sitting in the hospital, like remembering that I had told everyone, like, if anything gets any harder for me, pull the plug. And I'm sitting there thinking, there is not a plug to pull. Like I did this to myself and they didn't give me like a you're gonna walk again. They didn't know. Like it was the scariest experience of my life.
I hope people are listening because the path you both went down, Jenna says after a month she was left in a wheelchair and had to move in with her mother. It's that bad. Both of you went down this same path. And remember what I said at the top, folks. You can walk into a gas station and buy this. You can walk into a smoke shop or a corner store and buy this stuff. Doesn't matter how old your kids are, they can do this. So you need to be aware of this and watch out for it because this is scary stuff that your kids can get their hands on. And we're talking about a lot of this stuff getting promoted on social media. We've got a graphic that shows nitrous oxide cans because I want to point something out. One of the pictures shows nitrous oxide cans after a concert. It's actually in the center on the bottom here. So this is an actual picture, and that's how widespread this is. And take a look at the picture on the bottom right of your screen. These things are given names and bright colors to attract young people to them. This is a vending machine where kids get candy, and they can put money in a vending machine and get this out and use it. So, I mean, it's insane to me that this is going on.